Imagine this. You buy a brand new 65-inch TV, crystal clear picture, ultra bright HDR, all the latest smart features. But a few months later, your electricity bill goes up. Not by $5, not by 10, sometimes by $50 or more per year. Now here's the shocking part. Some modern TVs in the United States use 2 to 3 times more electricity than others that look almost identical. Same size, same resolution, completely different energy cost. And with electricity prices rising across many states, that difference matters more than ever. So today, we're answering a question millions of Americans are starting to ask. Which TVs are actually the most energy efficient in the United States in 2026? And more importantly, which ones quietly drain your electricity every single day? By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for before buying your next TV. And some of the answers might surprise you. Because the most expensive TVs are not always the most efficient, and sometimes the brightest TVs on the shelf are secretly the worst offenders. Welcome back to Tech Vibes. Let's break this down. Right now, TVs are getting bigger, much bigger. In the United States, the average TV size has jumped from around 42 inches a decade ago to more than 60 inches today. And that shift alone has changed how much energy American homes use. A single modern TV can run for 5 to 8 hours per day in many households. Sports, streaming, gaming, background noise during work, and when you combine that with the massive growth of 4K, mini LED, and OLED displays, energy usage starts to climb fast. But here's the twist. While TVs have gotten larger and brighter, many manufacturers are also trying to make them more efficient than ever before. Why? Because the United States has strict energy standards. Programs like Energy Star push manufacturers to design electronics that consume less power. Retailers are also highlighting energy ratings more prominently, and American consumers are paying attention. Electricity prices in the U.S. have steadily climbed over the past decade. In states like California, Hawaii, and New York, electricity costs can be 2 to 3 times higher than in other parts of the country. So suddenly, buying an energy-efficient TV is not just about the environment. It's about saving real money over the life of the device. And that brings us to the key question. What actually makes a TV energy efficient? Let's simplify this. When a TV uses electricity, most of that power goes into lighting the screen. Everything else, the processor, speakers, Wi-Fi, smart features, uses relatively small amounts of energy. The biggest power draw is always the display technology itself. And in 2026, there are 4 main types of TVs dominating the US market. Standard LED LCD TVs, QLED TVs, mini LED TVs, and OLED TVs. Each one handles light differently. Standard LED TVs use a backlight behind the screen. That light shines through the display. These are often the most energy-efficient options, especially in smaller sizes. QLED TVs use similar technology, but with a quantum layer that improves color and brightness. Energy usage can be slightly higher, but still relatively efficient. Mini LED TVs take things further. They use thousands of tiny backlights for better contrast, but with higher brightness levels, they can consume more power. Then there's OLED. OLED screens don't use a backlight at all. Each pixel lights itself. This allows incredible contrast and perfect blacks. But depending on brightness settings and content, OLED TVs can sometimes use more electricity than people expect. However, newer OLED panels have become dramatically more efficient. And this is where the real competition begins. Because the most energy-efficient TVs in 2026 are not just about the display type, they're about how manufacturers manage power, things like automatic brightness control, AI power management, ambient light sensors, and energy-saving picture modes. And this is where the story gets interesting. Let's talk about the TVs that are quietly leading the efficiency race in the United States. First, Samsung. Samsung has been pushing energy optimization heavily in recent years. Their Neo QLED models with AI energy mode analyze room lighting and adjust brightness automatically. If the room gets darker, the TV reduces power usage. If sunlight enters the room, brightness increases only when needed. This can reduce power consumption by up to 20% in real-world use, and many Samsung TVs in the US now include dashboards that actually show how much energy the TV is using. That kind of transparency didn't exist a few years ago. Now let's look at LG. LG dominates the OLED market in the United States, and OLED used to have a reputation for higher power usage. But LG's newer OLED EVO panels are far more efficient than older OLED technology. They use improved materials and smarter brightness control. Plus, OLED naturally saves energy when displaying darker content, which means movies with dark scenes can use far less power than bright daytime content. Then there's Sony. Sony TVs are often known for picture processing, but their newer models also emphasize efficiency. Their XR processor dynamically adjusts brightness and power based on what's happening on screen. And Sony tends to keep brightness levels balanced instead of pushing extreme peak brightness. That subtle design choice can actually lower energy usage over time. But here's where things get really interesting. Some of the most energy-efficient TVs in the United States are not the flagship models at all. Mid-range TVs often consume significantly less power. Why? Because they don't push brightness to extreme levels, they use fewer LEDs, and they avoid ultra-powerful processing chips. So sometimes the best balance between picture quality and efficiency is actually found in the middle of the lineup. And this changes how Americans should think about TV shopping, because the brightest TV on the showroom floor is often the least efficient. But here's the part nobody talks about: brightness wars. For years, TV manufacturers have competed to make displays brighter and brighter. Showrooms are filled with extremely bright TVs to grab attention. But extreme brightness requires a lot more electricity. And in real homes, that level of brightness is rarely needed. In fact, many TVs ship with settings that are far brighter than necessary. Some TVs arrive in something called vivid mode. This mode is designed to look impressive in retail stores, but it uses far more energy than normal viewing modes. Switching to cinema mode or filmmaker mode can reduce power consumption significantly, sometimes by 30% or more. And this is one of the easiest ways Americans can instantly make their TV more energy efficient. But let's go deeper, because efficiency isn't just about the TV itself. It's about how people actually use it. Streaming devices, game consoles, sound bars, smart home integrations. All of these can increase the overall energy footprint of a home entertainment setup. For example, leaving a gaming console running in standby mode can quietly consume electricity 24 hours a day. Same with certain smart speakers and streaming boxes. So the most efficient TV setup is not just about the panel. It's about the entire system, and that leads to another big factor: screen size. In the United States, 75-inch and 85-inch TVs are becoming incredibly popular, but larger screens naturally use more energy. Even efficient models consume more power simply because they are bigger. A 75-inch TV can easily use twice as much electricity as a 55-inch model. That doesn't mean large TVs are bad, but it does mean the efficiency rating matters more as size increases. If you're buying a giant screen for a living room, choosing an efficient model can make a noticeable difference on your annual electricity bill, and this becomes even more important in states with higher power costs. But efficiency isn't the only side of this story. Let's talk about the pros and the concerns. Energy-efficient TVs have clear advantages. First, lower electricity bills. Over 5 to 7 years of use, efficient TVs can save hundreds of dollars depending on your usage and location. Second, they generate less heat. This can actually help reduce air conditioning costs in warmer states. Third, efficient TVs often include smarter brightness controls and adaptive picture settings. These features can improve the viewing experience in real-world environments, but there are also trade-offs. Sometimes energy-efficient models are less bright than flagship displays. If you watch TV in a very bright room, you might prefer higher brightness. Another concern is performance in gaming. High refresh rates and advanced processing can increase power usage. Gamers often prioritize performance over efficiency, and that's a valid choice. There's also a debate around automatic brightness features. Some people love them, others find them distracting. But overall, the industry trend is clear. Efficiency is becoming a core selling point, and this shift is accelerating. Looking ahead to 2030, TVs could become dramatically more efficient. Micro LED technology is advancing quickly. These displays promise incredible brightness with lower power consumption. At the same time, AI power management is becoming smarter. Future TVs may constantly adjust brightness, color, and processing based on room conditions and viewing habits. Some prototypes even experiment with solar-assisted power designs for low-energy standby modes, and US regulations may push efficiency standards even further, which means the TVs sold later this decade could use far less electricity than today's models. But what should Americans do right now? If you're a student or young professional setting up your first apartment, look for Energy Star certified TVs in the 50 to 55-inch range. They often deliver the best balance of efficiency and price. If you're a working professional upgrading a living room TV, focus on models with adaptive brightness and energy dashboards. These features can significantly reduce power usage without sacrificing picture quality. If you're a business owner installing TVs in offices, restaurants, or waiting areas, efficiency becomes even more important. Multiple screens running all day can quickly add up. Choosing efficient models could save thousands in electricity over time. And for everyday consumers, the easiest tip is simple. Check the energy label, turn off vivid mode, use automatic brightness, and turn the TV off when you're not watching. Small habits can make a big difference. Because the truth is, TVs are not just entertainment devices anymore. They're one of the most used electronics in American homes. And as screens continue to grow, efficiency will matter more than ever. So the next time you walk into a store and see a wall of glowing displays, ask yourself one question. Which one is the smartest choice? Not just for picture quality, but for the energy it uses every single day? If you found this guide helpful, make sure you subscribe to Tech Vibes for more deep dives into the technology shaping our lives. And tell us in the comments, what size TV do you currently use in your home? And if you were upgrading today, would energy efficiency influence your decision? Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video on Tech Vibes.